Let's get into some things. Let's get into some things. You know what that means? It's time for Hot Topics! Yes! So today's Hot Topic is more for me like kind of like I told you so kind of moment, and like kind of like my pettiness is like, yes, bitch, I was right. But what am I talking about? What am I like joyfully gleeing about? Well, I'm talking about Chris Hansen. So Chris Hansen did an interview 2 weeks ago with a reporter named C. Brian Smith, and it's like a really, really long interview. I will definitely link the interview in full in the description. So in the interview, they were talking about, you know, his past career, what he's been up to, his legal issues. Like, it's just been basically like, it's a whole thing about Chris Hansen. So like, if you want to see all that, like I said, I'm putting it in the description. But it came into my attention yesterday, thanks to Josh Pescator, that Chris Hansen has, in my opinion, that Chris Hansen had some fucking explaining to do, like a motherfucker. But what exactly am I talking about? Let's show it, ladies and gentlemen. So Pescator, shout out to Pescator. I'll definitely be linking his Twitter in the description, because like, if you want news, that's the place to go to, in my opinion. Really, really nice guy. Pescator has been to me. But anyway, so Pescator, who I would say he was like the first person that comes to mind when I think of calling out Chris Hansen and thinking that Chris Hansen's intentions isn't completely pure, and you know, everyone has eventually followed suit, but in my opinion, he was the first to kind of point it out. So in this tweet, Pescator said yesterday, months ago, people thought I was shilling for Onision because I was going after Chris Hansen for grifting the community. But Pescator, Hansen's a good guy. He helps. For real, Hansen has sold the rights to his Onision Story to Discovery ID and more to come. So what is he talking about exactly? In this picture, which this is part of the article, again, I'm going to link the whole article in the description. Investigation Discovery has bought the rights to the Onision Story. So let me repeat, this is in the article in a face-to-face interview that C. Brian Smith has done, saying that Investigation Discovery has bought the rights to Onision Story. So what exactly does that mean? That means that possibly, and I said this myself, but I said when Chris Hansen went over to Onision's house with full camera crew, that I felt like at that moment that he was trying to sell this to a network. And according to this article, it says right here, Investigation Discovery has bought the rights to the Onision Story. So this is the full article in question. But right here in the article, here in this part is saying, as for work, Hansen is currently investigating multiple abuse allegations, including the case of fashion executive Peter Nygaard, allegedly to have I'm not reading that because that's just fucking gross. He's also covering 21 rape allegations against Daphoenixdiva, the former lead singer of the electro pop band Blood on the Dance Floor, and for months this past winter he interviewed alleged victims of the YouTuber Onision, who's accused of grooming and sexually abusing underage girls, culminating with a January 9th surprise visit to Onision's rental house in Washington. So like I said earlier, when I saw this footage, I immediately thought, and the production, like how many the camera crew he had and everything, like, so he completely hired a full camera crew to go to Washington. Chris Hansen's in New York, so he had to fly all the, like, across the United States to Washington with a camera crew, with cameras, with all of that, trying to do a surprise visit with Onision at his house. So when I saw this, I was like, okay, Chris Hansen is definitely trying to sell a show. He's definitely trying to sell a show. He's definitely trying to sell something. He's definitely trying to get material to pitch it to a network. That's how I felt. I didn't have any proof of it, but that's how I felt back then. So moving on with the article. So Chris Hansen is not just trying to sell the Onision story. And I'll read the whole statement here. And this statement in itself, there's like a lot of issues that I have with it. So this is the paragraph in question that I'm speaking about. He vows to that 2020 looks extraordinarily bright from a professional standpoint, despite a harassment claim by a former producer of Hansen's YouTube show, who Hansen fired in January due to behavior he could not condone, include alleged racism and homophobia. That wasn't just it. Now, what this article is talking about is Vincent Nicotra. Vincent Nicotra, he's done more than that. He's also got involved with doing, I don't know if it was exactly strikes or claims to other YouTube channels. Like, I know the verbiage is different, so I don't know exactly what he was doing, but like, he was fucking with other YouTube channels on the platform that dealt with, you know, that had To Catch a Predator material, which there are plenty of YouTube channels covering that. So he was doing that. He also was doing doxing too. So Vincent Nicotra is not a good guy, in my opinion. Like, he's not a good guy. And when they fell out, finally, Chris Hansen, like, he finally, you know, cut ties with him. Why, we don't really know. And Chris Hansen was like, oh, well, I didn't know he was doing all this. When the fans and a YouTuber actually did tell him that he was doing this, Chris Hansen didn't fire him then. He kept him on. And then, you know, time passes and he finally lets him go. So that was like one thing that, you know, it wasn't just this. Like, he was doing, you know, other fucked up shit. So that really bothered me with this article. Then it also says, some say it's more important to be on YouTube than television. Hansen tells me envisioning his new development model to be incubating stories on YouTube before bringing them to television. So back to what I was saying, that I felt like Chris Hansen is trying to sell a show. He's 100% trying to sell a show. He's 100% trying to make money. Maybe not be the host of the show. I don't know, like, what involvement he would be, but, like, obviously he's trying to sell shit. You know what I mean? He's trying to sell content that he's finding on YouTube to these major networks. And in this article, it has, you know, talked about, you know, Chris Hansen's financial issues, his legal issues. So it's no secret that Hansen needs the money. So to me, him trying to, you know, take content from YouTube and putting it on television is really not that much of a shocker to me. So far, so good in that regard. Investigation Discovery has bought the rights to the Onision story, and the Nygaard investigation is moving forward at a major network. So the Nygaard investigation, I read it above what that was exactly about. I'm not going to, you know, repeat it again because it's absolutely fucking disgusting. But he's literally taking YouTube content and bringing it to networks. So Pescator brings this out. Then Chris Hansen responds, no one is selling rights to a story to a network. That's not even how it works. And why would you not explore expanding an important story to a wider audience? Shouldn't the survivors' voices in the quest for justice go beyond YouTube? Well, Chris Hansen, you're 100% right. Justice should go beyond YouTube. It should go to the cops. You're 100% right. It should go to the cops. That's where it should go. I don't really see how, you know, stories about, and I'm not, just in general, I don't really see how stories about possible sexual abuse and things like that, you know, goes on television. I think it should go to the police. And then, similar to the R. Kelly situation, if the police and the law enforcement aren't doing their part, then take it to the platform. Take it to the bigger networks. Like, you know, they did with the R. Kelly story on Lifetime, which was extremely successful monetarily. But to me, the biggest success of that was R. Kelly is in jail. So to me, that was a victory. Something was done. And some people might feel like I'm being hypocritical in saying that, but the victims tried to go to the police first, and for whatever reason, it didn't go through and things like that. So back to the tweets. So Chris Hansen, are you saying C. Brian Smith is a liar? That's the that was the reporter that interviewed C. Brian Smith is the reporter that interviewed Chris Hansen. Did he misquote you? Or are you lying now because you've been exposed? The second half of your tweet sure does sound like you want to sell your story. This interview was done face to face. Who is lying? So then, Pescator, you did an update. It seems 10 days after C. Brian Smith's profile on him comes out, he claims the article included lies. I would like to hear Brian's thoughts on this. Now, the writer did respond. He says, like numerous colleagues of his I spoke to, I found Chris Hansen to be a straight shooter and a total pro. Then Pesco said, what do you think of his tweet where he said he didn't sell anything to ID, directly contradicting your article and interview? It was my understanding he told you the piece of information directly. Did Hansen say he sold the Onision Story rights to ID? Up to this point, I have not seen a statement of C. Brian Smith saying that he misquoted him or anything. And we can go to his Twitter right now. And the only thing we can see is his retweet of Josh Pescator. And the last tweet he wrote was this. So, again, he hasn't responded. So, you guys, I needed additional help on my thoughts on this. So I called Biscuit to help me. Biscuit, how are you, sir?
What is good? I'm doing great. How's everything?
I'm doing great too. Like let's get into some things. We talked about it. We talked about this several times on, the show that we used to be on about, Chris Hansen and everything.
Yep.
We talked about it several times. So, and I also told you that the writer himself is saying, like numerous colleagues of his I spoke to, I found Chris Hansen to be a straight shooter and a total pro.
He's calling that Chris Hansen dick right now, isn't he? Because now he sees that the Chris Hansen stock is rising, so he's got to stay with him right now. Got to ride them coattails, bro.
Well, my question is that what it looks like to me, and this is what it looks like to me. It looks like to me that Chris Hansen just used a bunch of YouTubers. He bought a bunch of YouTubers. He let the YouTubers do their own research. And then after the deed was done, he was like, oh, I'm going to take your shit and bring it to a network.
Oh, 100%. I said this in the beginning. I've said this multiple times to anybody who will listen. You need to go back and you need to watch that video, that stream that he did with Mr. Gigi. It was Mr. Gigi, right? Yeah. Where he blatantly asked you, what's the secret to success on YouTube and all that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I keep bringing this up is because it paints an obvious picture of what he was trying to do. He set up his YouTube account, and he thought that would be his way back to success, because maybe the way he saw it, which it was partially true, honestly, the way he saw it, the internet is the future of media. Cable networks aren't going to be around for the next 50 years, I would say.
No, I agree.
So he saw this as his way back in. He was like, you know what, I'll make it on my own. And it didn't explode quite the way you wanted to, because let's be honest, when you make a YouTube career, it's a fucking coin flip. Either you explode or you don't. It's just the way it goes. Some people make it, some people don't. There's nothing you could do about it. So it didn't start raking in the millions that he thought it would rake in. And again, this is just me being an outsider and reading and learning everything and watching this whole thing transpire as I have for the past nearly a year. Right? So, but that's what it looks like. He started getting into it. He picked up the Onision Story because everybody on Twitter and his chat kept throwing it at him. So he figured it would be a really popular thing to do. He started getting all these girls on his show, obviously using them just for fucking clicks and numbers. Didn't really care about whether what this guy was doing was illegal or not.
To speak on that, let me see if I can pull up the tweet what he said. He said, this is Chris Hansen's words. Shouldn't the survivors' voices in the quest for justice go beyond YouTube? And I said in the video that he's 100% right. It should go beyond YouTube. It should go to the cops. And that's what I believe. I think it should go to the cops. I think, I don't think YouTube is the police. I don't think YouTube is a judge, jury, and, executioner.
It's something I've been saying. Twitter is not the cops. YouTube is not the cops. Do it the right way. And apparently, I don't know whatever happened with one of the girls. Remember, she gave her laptop over to the FBI?
Yes.
Apparently, nothing has come of that, right?
Yeah.
So I'm left to assume that what I originally thought about the whole thing is true.
I also think that I don't know how Investigative Discovery is going to, own the rights to this, because I don't really see them doing their own research on Onision.
No.
I see them going to YouTubers and YouTubers videos and things like that. So in my idea, I'm like, so are a bunch of YouTubers going to, unite like fucking Power Rangers and become, Megazord? What do you call it? Megazord?
The mega YouTuber.
Yeah, become the mega YouTuber and, just do a bunch of lawsuits, because I don't really see YouTubers being okay with their shit being taken. But I honestly
if you ask me, they're just going to be using Hansen's streams as a basis for whatever special that they're going to make. Because I don't know if you watch that channel. I've actually watched it a few times. If you like the unsolved mysteries kind of shows, if you're into those,
yeah,
they're actually not that bad. They're good time killers. So that's probably what it's going to be. And he probably just sold them the rights to like all his stuff so that he could go on and he could host it or do whatever he's got to do. They cut him a check. It's a one-time
no,
check.
I honestly think. And then like for, Chris Hansen to double down saying that he, no one's selling rights to a story. And up to this point, the reporter hasn't said that he got it wrong. The reporter has not said that he got it wrong at this point. I checked his Twitter. The reporter has not said that I misquoted him or anything. The reporter is standing by his article, which he has every right to if Chris Hansen said what he said. But my final thoughts is I'm excited for the lawsuits. I'm really excited about the lawsuits. I'm really excited to see if YouTubers are going to really allow this shit. That's what I'm really, really excited about.
Like I said, I don't see, unless they explicitly start using footage and other people's faces that didn't sign off on this whole thing. Mm-hmm. I don't see that happening too much, unless someone's going to try and say, like, somebody who was on one of Hansen's streams, who was on at one point, if they're going to say, well, you didn't have my permission, maybe they'll do that. I don't see the lawsuit thing going too far. What I do see happening is Chris Hansen making a fool of himself on a national stage now.
But at the end of the day, we were right. Ha ha. Hee. We were fucking right.
We get the told you so medal, motherfucker.
Yeah, we were fucking right. Pescator was fucking right. And Chris Hansen, I don't see any YouTubers helping you at this point. So I hope you made your money. But thank you, Biscuit, for, jumping in and helping me break this down.
You know it. Fuck Chris Hansen.